I can't believe this is number 16th video in the series. It's going strong thanks to your support. Thank you so much. So we're going to keep learning help desk. There is a lot to learn as always. So we're just going to keep going until we can't go anymore. I mean, I don't know what else to say. So let's just get into it. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Irvin, also known as Koboman. Welcome to new video about working help desk tickets. Before we begin, as usual, please in the comment below say hello, hi, or present, and the point of that is to keep me motivated, basically. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and I know a lot of people already are doing that, and again, thank you so much. Okie dokie, we're going to make this video for Sunday. Remember, I promised I was going to make a video for Sunday. It's going to be released on Sunday. Now, if you are a member, if you join the channel, and then you will receive an early access to this video. So those people who became members, this is my thank you to you. So thank you so much. So if you're a member, you will get early access, which is on Saturday, and if you're everybody else, then it's going to be on Sunday. So before we start, I wanted to talk about something that I had to do recently, and that is set up my old router to act as a bridge or a repeater, if you will. And the reason I did that is because once I got my new internet, because I switched to a different internet provider now, and the modem location is in a different place. Let me see if I can kind of show you. Let's say this is my old modem, right? This is my old modem, and this is, I'm going to call it old. Let's see if I can draw this. Old, I'm trying to draw with a mouse. Old modem, not modem, router. And here is the new one. New. So since I was using physical connection, meaning, okay, there it is, new. Meaning that I had to run cables, right? Cable 1, cable 2, cable 3, cable 4, and etc. to different computers, right? Different computers. Since the location of the new one here is totally different, matter of fact on a different floor of my house, now the cables are no longer long enough. So what I did was run a cable, main cable, from port number 1, right? Because this is a router slash modem from the new one. So I took from P1, port 1, and then ran a cable to the old router right here and plugged it in. And now I can use the old router and set it as a bridge. Trying to draw with a mouse, sorry. It's kind of difficult. Bridge. So what that does, it just extends the network. Extends the network so that way I can just keep using the old cables, you know. So, well, I just used one of them, one of the cables that I had, and then ran it to the other floor, and then set this one as a repeater, and this one is located where most of my computers are for physical address. So you can set up routers to be a bridge or a repeater even from a wireless network. You can set up, and not all routers will support this, but you can log into your old router, and in this case all I had to do is just set it as bridge, and then I had to make sure that the old router is set up on the same subnet or on the same subnet as the new one. And I'll show you what that means here in a moment. And I also had to make sure that its IP address is on the same subnet, and I'll explain that, because now this old router kind of acts as an extension of this one. So I just need one cable from the modem slash router here. It's all together. It's all one thing, right? And then I just ran a cable to this old one, and now the old one will extend the network, and it will assign its own IP addresses. Is now has all of its function, pretty much all of its functions disabled except the bridge function that allows this. I'm sorry, I'm getting into networking here a little bit, but it's not too complex. I want you to understand how this works. All right, let's do ipconfig /all. And I want to show you something here. Okay, so here is my Ethernet adapter, right? This is what my computer is plugged in, and this one is getting this one is directly connected, just like all my other computers, from that router that's been set up as a bridge, right? As a bridge between the two routers. So what's happening is that you have to make sure that your IP address, your old router is set up on the same subnet, its physical IP address. So here it is. Here is default gateway, and I've talked about this here. Default gateway is where your router is. So this is the location of the gateway, which is the gateway to the internet on my new router, right? I have to go through this to reach the internet. And that's the location of my new router. The old one, I had to change its IP address, meaning I had to make it static and on the network, and I had to be on the same subnet. So you see how here is 192.168.1, and that's the net, that's the subnet. And after that, after 1, there are a certain amount of IP addresses that you can use within that. Once you run out of IP addresses, here, for example, here it says 254. Once we run out of all the IP addresses here, this switches over to 2. And then it goes again and has ability to assign new IP addresses. But now it's on number 2, which is a new subnet. So for this to work, the both routers have to be on the same subnet, in this case number 1 subnet, right? Number 1 net, if you will, to make it easier to understand. So I had to change its IP address to, let me do this here. I'm going to open it up in Chrome. I had to set it up to 192.168.1.200. So I picked just any number that was available. So my old router that's acting as a bridge is now at this location, and here it is. It's coming up again, right? So it used to be .1. This is typical of routers. It used to be 198.168.1.1, but I had to change it because it's now a bridge to be on the same subnet in order for it to work as a bridge. Let's see. I just changed the here it is, and this is the only thing that can happen. You lose a lot of menus, you lose a lot of its functions, and now this router is just set up as a bridge. You see here, right here, internet connection. It's set up in the bridge mode, and the IP version address that I had to give it to is this one, which is on the same subnet, which is at number 1. And so it could have been any of those IP addresses that are unused. And I had to specify the same subnet mask that the new router is using, which usually is always this, and its default gateway. Remember, we looked at this default gateway, and that's the location where the new router is on my home network. You see how that's all connected? And that's how this is able to work now. All right. And I'm still getting IP addresses from the new router. See here, it says it's 1.118. It doesn't matter because the functions of the one that's set to be a bridge are basically disabled, like other functions like the HTTP server, the firewall settings, all of other things that you're used to seeing, they're now disabled because it's now in a bridge mode. And if I go to Wi-Fi, it's disabled. I make sure that it's disabled so it doesn't cause problems. Because if you happen to have Wi-Fi that's that you have the same name on the new and old one, and you still have it active on the old one, it's going to cause you problems. You're going to be connecting. You're like, why is it not working? And then it would take you a while to really figure out that you're connected to a router that's basically disabled. That's just a repeater / bridge. I hope this is fairly easy to understand. So I have it disabled here so it's not conflicting with the new router. This here is just, basic IP address situations here. Okay. And that's pretty much it. I hope that's understood. Just to kind of reiterate, to make it into a bridge mode, to set up as a repeater, to extend your physical network or Wi-Fi network, you have to make sure that your router is set to a bridge mode, and same subnet mask, and same default gateway, which is the location of your new router, which is new router. So if I type this in up there instead of this here, then I'm going to reach the new router. It's all on the same network. So something to keep in mind if you ever decide to do this. Again, you can do this on a Wi-Fi. You'd have to connect. I would have to connect to the Wi-Fi on the network, on the new router's network, and the same thing can be done. It's just a little bit different steps. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I don't know. Let me know if you like this little intro, how to set this up. Okay, dokie. All right, we're gonna start with the old ones first, and then we're gonna skip around to see what's going on here with the ticketing system. What's the situation here? Oh, I apologize. We have to follow up with the ones that we worked on before. Scanner is not working. That's the one we talked about. We didn't get any response. If you want to see what's going on with this, please watch the previous video. There is going to be a pop-up that comes up. So since we didn't get any more information in order to resolve this issue, I'm going to have to close it. Somebody did mention when I talked about this that this setup could be a scanner that once you scan an item, it sends it to your email, but I don't have enough information to go through the troubleshooting of this. Again, this is one of those things where you got to ask more information from the user in order to resolve issues. So I'm going to say due to no response closing ticket at this time, please let me know if you still need assistance with this issue. So, and I'm going to send this. So it's a reply to customer. So the customer will get this notification. And I'm going to also add the same thing as an internal note. And, if your internal note is something that you have to, want to make sure that your manager knows that things that you've done. Usually you would want to list that. Like, I've checked this, I've checked that. Here in this case, it says due to no response. You can say followed up multiple times, this and that. We're going to keep it moving. So I'm going to close this ticket because I have a lot of tickets to work on. But you might want to follow up at least twice before you close any of these tickets. Outlook Mail is slow. Okay, so I've provided some instructions on this one. Again, if you want to watch it, it's going to in the previous video. In this case, I provided instructions of what can be done. But otherwise, you would have want to take control of the computer and do all of these things. So I'm gonna do the same thing here. Due to no response, closing ticket at this time. Please let me know if you still need assistance with this issue. And user may come back and reopen the ticket if it hasn't been resolved, which is not necessarily something you want, but they can do it, and it may not necessarily be your fault either, especially if you followed up multiple times, right? But in this case, we're going to close it, and if it gets reopened, then we need to provide more. User needs to provide more information on what's going on. All right, Outlook requires password. Here's a new one we're going to work. From Marianne, thank you for submitting tickets. Outlook requires password. I cannot log into my email, into my mails, because Outlook suddenly requires a password. It was never necessary to type in a password. I don't get it. Please help me. I need my mails. So that's a great ticket. You may get this sometimes. Let's see. This is not Outlook, but this is, well, it's a pseudo Outlook. It's not real Outlook. This is what they install on everybody's computer. Anyways, let's say this is Outlook and suddenly it's asking for a password. Usually this happens whenever you change your password and your computer hasn't gotten the new password from the domain. Your computer hasn't replicated the new password locally. So normally you don't have to log in all the time, right? It's just open like this. It's just open. It doesn't ask you for password. But however, if your credentials, like these here, look at this here, sample user 26 at outlook.com. If this is tied to your domain, let's say your domain name is I don't know, funnycats.com. Let's say your company is funnycats.com, right? And it says, I don't know, Bob at funnycats.com. And suddenly it's asking for your password. Well, chances are your login is tied to your domain login, which has to be replicated locally. So if you already had this open and you haven't updated locally your new password that you've changed, probably changed. This is most of the time, this is where I've seen this issue where the password has been changed but hasn't been updated locally. All you have to do is just lock the computer like this and then unlock it. And then unlock it with whatever the password is. Whatever the new password is, right? And then once you unlock it, then it should replicate locally on your computer. And now when you open up Outlook or anything that uses domain credentials, it should work fine. Some programs you have to update the password manually. Like I've seen it in instant messengers mostly that sometimes use, I don't know, sometimes they don't like the update. But that's also known, what I'm talking about is also known as SSO, single sign-on system. That basically you need a single sign-on, like your single login ID and password for all the systems. So that's what I'm talking about, which is usually implemented in the business environments. So I'm going to contact the user and say, can you please lock your computer and then use your password to unlock it. So, and since I don't have a direct, I'm going to say this. This usually happens when a domain password has changed. I'm going to leave it at that. And I'm going to pretend that this actually resolved the issue. Because when it comes down to it, something has changed on your account. And as a help desk, you should be able to figure this out easily. You know, it's not a technical thing per se, you know, because it's simply asking for a new password. So it just needs to be updated and changed to do whatever the new one is. And one way to do it again is to replicate it locally. And if not, you may have to put it in manual and hopefully it doesn't go, you know, hopefully it goes away. But that's what I would do. You might also want to reboot the computer afterwards in case the issue still keeps going. So I'm going to say resolve issue by updating password at local level. You know what? I'm going to say replicating. Replicating the new password at local level. I'm going to pretend like I fixed this and close it. Okay. We got one more from area. We're going to skip over because we've done multiple from area. But we'll come back to it. Don't worry on the other videos. We're going to go to Anyango. Double-sided printing issue. Double-sided printing. Okay. A printer has failed to print double-sided. How do I solve this? So this is actually just a setting that you need to do. That you need to tell your computer's printer driver, I should say. So whatever your printer is, find it in printers and scanners. Find it in printers and scanners. Right click it to make changes to it. Printers and scanners. Here we go. Manage. Printer properties. And in here somewhere, it's going to depend on the type of, I know this says fax because I don't have a printer installed, but it'll be similar like this. We're changing the driver preferences or something like that. And in here, there will be a setting that will allow you to change it to double-sided or single-sided. It just depends on like if it's like an HP printer, it could be anywhere. It could be right here somewhere. Setting. The setting is definitely there is what I'm trying to say. But it is going to vary from printer to printer. Yeah, so it's going to be in the printer driver is what I'm trying to say. So it's not a hard fix at all. It's just that you have to look around. And, different printers, different locations because of different printer drivers. But it's going to be in here. There's nowhere else to be. And you would just have to go in and select to either single-sided or double-sided. As simple as that. All right. So me not having a printer installed to show you that is not a big deal because I showed you where to go exactly. And all you have to do is just find where the menu is. Sometimes we do have to look for things because not every computer or not every driver is the same. Not every software is the same. We spend a lot of time figuring things out. It would be easy to do troubleshooting, any tech support troubleshooting, if we knew every single software. And that's a quick and easy fix, right? You just snap your fingers like that and it's fixed. But man, sometimes you come across an issue that you've never seen before, and I highly encourage you to do so in order to learn new things. Because now, once you figure out how to do it, now you're going to be the guy or a gal, or a lady that knows how to fix this. One thing that nobody else took time to fix. You see what I'm saying? So you got to spend time to figure out where it's at. We know it's there. We just have to find it. So it's all it is just a setting that you have to click. Okay? So I'm going to say, please check the printer driver under printers and scanners and look for option to enable or disable single sided or double sided printing. And again, this is something you would do. This is something you would do for the user, right? This is something you would do for the user. And I'm going to pretend like I've done this. Changed settings to be. Change printer settings to be double-sided. Companies nowadays actually by default leave it like that and force people to use double-sided because they want to save money on paper. All right, closed. Moving on. By the way, on Yango Fabiano, thank you very much for submitting tickets. I appreciate it. We got a couple more from you, and we'll get back to you. Well, there's 3 more that I see from you, and that's awesome. Thank you. I really appreciate it. These are great. These are great. Thank you so much. Don't worry, I'll get back to you. I'm just trying to give a chance to other people too. Here is one from Nihal Patel. My computer is slow. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing anybody's names wrong. I apologize. My computer is running slow. What should I do to make it faster? Well, first thing you need to do is open up your task manager and see why it might be running slow. First look at, here we go, performance. See if your CPU is being used a lot. If your CPU is being used a lot, like instead of just 1% here, let's say it's 50%, and you don't know why. 50 means that 50% of your CPU power is being used by something. Go to processes, sort by process, and see what's causing it. Make sure it's not a virus or something else running in the background. That could cause your problem. Obviously, the next thing is check to see how much available memory you have. Like this computer has 16 gigabytes and it's only using 3.8, which is perfectly normal. You know, if you're running out of RAM, which in this case it's called memory, I don't know why they keep naming things weirdly where it's confusing. I guess they don't care that whether users understand it or not. So this is random access memory. They really should call it RAM, random access memory, which is used for processing anything that CPU is trying to process. And if you're running out of it, let's say more than 16 gigabytes are being used here, then your CPU is going to be it's going to be under heavy load as well. It's not going to be just 1% here. It's going to be maybe even up to 100% power trying to catch up, because now it has to use a page file, which is a virtual memory used from your local storage, your C drive. And that's not as fast as random access memory. So you can do that. And if you have a standard hard drive as your main operating system, this is a standard HDD hard drive, which is a magnetic. These are old and they're slow. If your computer is slow because of that, because it's slow to read and write, meaning read anything that you're trying to open and write anything that you're trying to save on your computer. If it's too slow to do that, and it's going to, then the issue might be with that. But then you can switch over to using solid state drive, which you can see that my main operating system here, C colon, right? My C drive is SSD, solid state drive, which are a lot faster. So sometimes you can improve performance by a lot just simply by getting a solid state drive for your operating system. And you can see this one is tiny. It's only 120 gigabytes, but it's more than enough to run the operating system, right? You can see that everything's running perfectly fine. And that's how you can do it, unless you're talking about gaming. Then you might want to get a GPU, this and that. You can be more specific and tell me, submit a different ticket, I suppose, because it seems like this is just an inquiry. But let me know your specs if you want. Submit a new ticket. Let me know what your specs are and what kind of problems you're seeing. Why is it slow? Is it your game slow, or your everyday tasks slow? Let me know. Submit a new ticket and I'll talk about it again. Thank you very much for submitting this ticket. Hello. You can check system performance inside the task manager to see which resources are lacking, I guess, or being used too much, i.e. I.E. in this example, CPU usage, RAM usage, and etc. And I'm just going to close this because this is more of an inquiry. It's not a typical help desk ticket, Thank you very much for submitting it. Okay, Waleed, oh man, Waleed's been with my channel for a long time. Special hello to you, my friend. I've seen you many times. You've been supporting me with wonderful comments, and it just means a lot, man. I see you, man. I see you. Thank you for submitting this ticket. Let's do it. Unable to log into my computer. This is very, typical ticket that you would see. Hey there, IT. I am trying to log in to my computer, but I'm getting a bad timestamp error and unable to log in. I also see that my time is incorrect as well. Please help. Timestamp. This is unable to log into computer. I'm trying to log into my computer, but I'm getting a bad timestamp error. Unable to log in. I see that my time is incorrect. So I guess this could happen when the times are not matching, your local time and the main controller times. I guess this could happen. I know this can cause problems with websites. So let's say your time, and here's my time here on the right. Let me close this here. If your time here, it says here 12:32 p.m. And the date here, especially time and date, you can see that here it's Friday, February 18th, 2022. If this is different, if this happens to be different compared to the server, whether it's a domain server or a website, you're going to get a website errors like certificate errors and such. So you would try to go to a website, and let me see if I can find one. Website error because of wrong time. Let's see. Hopefully, let's see here. Maybe I'll find. Oh wow, there's some specific ones. So it'll be kind of like this. It would say that the website is insecure. Potential security issues. It'll be kind of like this. I forget exactly if it would be this one, but you will start getting these errors where the certificate on the website, the security certificate, like this here, you see how Google has a certificate. If it's not correctly matching to your time zone, then it'll show up as this, where it'll say your connection is not secure because your computer is assuming that there's something wrong with the certificate. So I can see maybe same thing happening with your login, computer login. And obvious resolution here is to change your system time, your system time to the correct time. And you're saying here, also say that my time is incorrect as well. So you can obviously go in and change it. So your clock here, so just right click it and then select adjust time and date. So make sure that your time zone is selected correctly, and then you can set it to synchronize from the server, which is time.windows.com. It will synchronize your computer to whatever it is, and then make sure your time zone is selected correctly. Now, if this keeps changing, that could mean that your computer is losing power, and I don't mean power when you unplug it and suddenly power goes out in your house or wherever you have your computers plugged in. I don't mean that. I mean loses power because of the BIOS settings are losing power, in the sense that they are powered by a battery. So inside of your computer BIOS, which is the base system of your computer, is powered by a battery in order to keep certain settings always there. And here's actually a perfect example. Oh wait, I was going to zoom into this. I'll zoom into this so you guys can see. This battery here on your computer keeps track of saved settings for basic functions, what they call POST, power on self-test. Whenever you power on your computer does power on self-test. And it does it based off of settings that are saved on the chipset, on the chip of the motherboard. And that is kept. Those settings are kept, including time and date. Time and date are also kept saved by a battery, this battery here. And if the battery starts to go out, then you may have this problem where the time is being, constantly being switched to the old time. Because whenever the power is lost, here, it reverts to the old system settings that were from the manufacturer. So if your computer was made 3 years ago, it'll revert to, 2019, right? It'll revert to date and time from 2019. And I can see that possibly causing a problem. I'm not sure exactly what the situation is here, but since you talked about timestamps, Let me see if bad timestamp error is anything else that I've maybe missed that I'm not aware of. Bad timestamp error login. Let's see what this is. Okay, here it is. This is from just another website. A bad request time error occurs when logging into Duo authentication for Windows Logon. If you do see this, indicates your Windows server has connectivity to Duo's cloud service. Okay, so I don't know if this is related to actual Duo. Duo authentication is whenever you are trying to log in to a VPN, right? That's the main reason to use Duo authentication. So this might be related to something to VPN, but you know, I don't know here for sure. Sysadmin. Let's go to Reddit here real quick. I want to see what this is. We have Duo installed on about 100 Windows 10 laptops that are working from the user's home. The user signs into Windows first and then connects to VPN, which allows, okay, right, yeah, Duo is used for that, which allows them to sync the time with the main controller. You see, I talked about the main controller here. We have found that if the users leave their Windows laptop running over a long holiday weekend without VPN connected, then the time will get skewed until user connects to VPN, and even takes a good 30 to 60 minutes for time to correct itself. Oh wow, I didn't know this was happening. Enter the newly installed Duo client who seems to be... Okay, so yeah, it's Duo Authenticator is not liking, if this is the same thing. I wish you had specified if this was the same thing. Duo Authenticator app, authentication app. If this is the case for PC, then this is obviously an issue, right? Well, yeah, I mean, this is what he's... Alright, so Authenticator, okay, whatever. Look, I'm not going to get into this because you haven't specified yet, Walid, but thank you so much for submitting this. If it is issue with Duo Authenticator, then it's something that is just the way it's set up. This is why in my company we always tell people to reboot their computer at the end of work, at the end of their shift. Whether it's whenever they were at the office or at home, we tell them, once you're done using your computer, reboot it so these weird issues don't happen. But looks like the issue might be just to wait it out and fix it. So I'm going to keep this open. I'm going to say hello, Walid. Can you please tell me exactly where you get this error? So I was trying to be open-minded here, assuming that this was a Windows error that I've never seen before, bad timestamp, but it doesn't appear to be the case, most likely. I don't know. Well, we're going to wait for Walid to respond, and if not, then we'll get back to it. But yeah, whenever you're connected to VPN, or when you're not connected to the VPN, I can see the time getting screwed up or skewed if you're not connected to the main controller for a certain period of time, which shouldn't be happening. If I'm being honest, you'll be able just to connect, no problem. But you know, with Duo Authenticator like that being finicky like that, that's definitely a problem. So I actually took a break while recording this, and I believe we got a response from Walid. All right. That was awesome. Actually, I took a short break, maybe like half an hour. And we got a response from Walid on the ticket that we just done. He says, hey, Kobo man, it's not really an issue I have myself, but since I'm doing HD in a domain environment, I've seen this issue. So usually what that means is the computer time messes up randomly. So what I do is get to the command prompt from our tools and send commands to change the time, the correct one, and also time zone. And user is then able to log in. It's just something I'm doing so you can add in your videos. Okay. So this is somehow happening in the place where he works, where he has to use some kind of remote tools, possibly PS tools. Waleed, let me know if it's a PS tools that you're using. I forget the PS tools can actually do this. I know you can do a lot of things with PS tools, which are a set of tools that allows you to do things over the network. And something that you may actually get access to if you're doing help desk, maybe tier 2. I don't think tier 1 will have access to this. I don't know. Depends where you work. But it's an issue that he's got in his environment, meaning his business, and he has to correct it. Otherwise, they can't log in. So I assumed here as much, but then I saw that other stuff about Duo Authenticator, which, hey, you never know. This type of stuff can happen. Every time you have conflicting time zones and times that are not matching with the server times, you may have these issues. And the user is then able to log in. It's just something that I'm doing so you can add it in your videos. So the only reason I can think of is, well, aside from the one we saw about Pulse, where they have that issue if it's like a VPN and they log off or log on or some kind of a delay, that could be it too, that's causing this issue. But then again, you say you log in, that means you have direct access to their computer. So this might not even be over VPN or anything like that. So this might be just at your business network. So the only thing that's left over is just losing, those losing power with that BIOS losing power, meaning that battery that I showed you earlier. Very interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, I wouldn't know where to guess on this aside from that. If I had physical access to it, that would be great. I'm gonna say thanks, Waleed, for the ticket. I will definitely feature it in a new video. I think, I guess it could be some kind of a network issue. Yeah, I think it could be some kind of network delay issue or bad BIOS battery. But if it's happening to multiple people, I would assume it's related to the network. And I'm just going to leave it at that, because as far as I know, it could be caused by the bad switch, bad server somewhere. Who knows? It could be any of those things. Let's see, what are the suggestions? Okay, so I changed that because this system has grammar suggestion. Sometimes it's wrong, but most of the time it's right. It corrects your grammar, which I definitely need help with since I'm foreign. English is my second language. I'm going to close the ticket. Closing. Yeah, I'm going to say because I don't have direct access to the systems, closing ticket at this time. It's we've got more information, but we know by speaking to Waleed, we got direct response from Waleed is that I don't have direct access to it, and it's something that he just fixes it. He just fixes it with his remote tools. But I do wonder what he means here by since I'm doing HD. There might be some kind of title where he works. In a domain environment, I've seen these issues. He's seen these issues. So I don't think it's BIOS because it's super rare. I really think it's some kind of an issue with the network or the server. There has to be some kind of delay. It could be the switch. They could be using all switches, network switches, as far as I know. You know. But I know Waleed's gonna watch this, and he can maybe let me know in the comments or respond to this ticket, and I'll talk about it later. Okay. So I said I was going to do one more, so let's do one more. We're going to do... Well, let's do this one from Javier. Javier P. We're going to look at this one, and I think I've talked to Javier quite a few times. I think I see him leaving comments on the videos. Thank you very much for submitting tickets and for the nice comments. Oops, I closed it accidentally. Sorry. All right, I'm getting tired, guys. I meant to assign it to myself first. And we have a screenshot, which is awesome. Hello, Kobu Man. Well, let's see first what it says here. Microsoft Teams sign in, sign out in error. Sign in error, Outlook plugin for Outlook 2016. Yeah, let's see, did we get another? Aha, looks like Waleed responded here. It says, yeah, it's some kind of network issue, but it's a pretty rare issue, but still occurs. Yeah, that's what I suspected. Thanks, Waleed. Man, this is real time, guys. Real time. Awesome. Awesome. I have Microsoft Teams plugin installed on my computer with Office 2016. Recently, when I tried to create Teams meeting in calendar tab at bottom of Outlook. Okay. When I click on calendar tab in Outlook bottom and click new Teams meeting to create a new meeting, gives me an error. Sorry, you need to sign out of Teams and sign back in before you can schedule your meeting. If problem persists, please contact your support team. I have tried running a repair in Office 365, but it did not fix the issue. I have tried signing in, but it gives me the same error. Let's look at the error here. So he's trying to use this plugin that is for Microsoft Teams that's embedded into Outlook. Sorry, you need to sign out of Teams and sign in again before you can schedule your meeting again. If the problem persists, please contact your support team, just like you said. All right, so this is a big problem. This is a big problem with plugins. Every time you try to use a plugin that's integrated into another software, especially if it's a third-party plugin, they can be finicky and they can cause problems. Now in this case, it clearly tells you whenever he tries to click on the calendar and click on new team meeting to create a meeting, it gives him an error. So every time he tries to use it, basically, it gives him an error. So it's at this point it's useless. It's unusable, and it tells him you need to sign out of Teams and sign in again before you can schedule your meeting. So what this clearly says here as well is that you're signed in somewhere else, most likely. Now, I don't know if this to be the case, but that's the main thing that comes to my mind, is that maybe you're signed in somewhere else into Teams. And you're not necessarily signed into Teams application itself, but maybe other Office 365 product, because it uses the same sign-in. So if you use your cell phone, your smartphone, to access anything that's related to Office 365 or using this specific login, then you might want to make sure that you're not logged in on other devices, into Office 365. That's the first thing I would check, mainly because this error tells you to, right? This error tells you to. We can't ignore that. We can't go about trying other things unless we try this first and make sure 100% that that's the case. which could be happening. I've seen issues where people log into multiple computers and suddenly they're starting to have weird issues like this. Now, other thing you can do is flush any old data. Well, I know you said you tried to repair Outlook, and that's fine. But have you tried to reinstall the plugin for Teams? That could also be another thing. Now, I don't know for sure how these plugins are installed for Outlook like this, but what you generally see when it comes to to plugins and computer data is that it will create a cached folder of settings, documents, and things that it uses while you're using the computer, which can also include the plugins that you're using. So what I suggest next is that you go to users folder and look for your login. In my case, it's Kobume. Go to app data, go to local, go to Microsoft, and look in here to see if there are any folders related to that plugin. If you see Teams plugin or Outlook folder or anything like that. So what you can do is go in here and flush this data. And the way you do it is simply, and let's just pick any of these. Well, let's do something else because I don't want to delete anything that's Microsoft to cause problems. But you can pick anything here, like this Citrix here. This Citrix is a plugin for your computer, and its data is stored in here. And if I wanted to flush it, reinstall it, I would just rename this folder. Don't delete it, just rename it, and then try it again. This is going to reinstall and push or install new configuration data, files, cached files, and this and that in there. And same thing can be done for other programs like WebEx, Google, anything that's being used. Now, just be careful. Make sure that you found the correct one. If it says Teams plugin, then go ahead and give it a shot. And the reason I said rename it is because you can always go back and restore that. You can always restore that. So if it's not working, if it's still broken or something else is broken, go back, rename it back to what it was, and delete the new one that was created, because it will create a new folder in here. So you'll have two Citrixes, Citrix 1, Citrix 2, or whatever it names. But if you have Citrix old, and then it's just going to create another one that's called Citrix, which will be the new folder. That's just an example. But that's how I would go about this and see if I can. Now, Microsoft likes to install things different places, like in here. Look at this. Packages, like if you're, for example, looking for sticky notes, they will be here. The application for sticky notes might be here, like this in here somewhere. So Microsoft likes to put different things in different places. So just be careful, look around, make sure you find the correct one, and give that a shot, see if that works. Otherwise, you may have a wrong version of the plugin, or something is incompatible and causing the problem. But yeah, first thing first, I'm going to say this. Hello, Javier. Please try steps below. Log out of any used Office 365 applications. Okay. Number 2, repair plugin only if possible. Number 3, flush app data from app data folder. For example, see users login ID, whatever it is that you use for your computer. App data. I'm going to say this: flush old settings / data from app, for example, and look for folder used by that plugin and or Outlook. Sorry guys, I don't have Outlook installed per se. The one I showed you earlier is not a real Outlook. It's just some kind of pseudo thing. And step 4, what did I say for step 4? Was there a step 4? Oh yeah. Make sure the correct, make sure that, I guess, a compatible version of Teams plugin is used. I'm getting really tired here. Okay. Please let me know if that worked. I'm going to leave it open and wait for Javier to respond. And well, I closed it already, so but he can still respond. I'll still get a notification. I'm going to go back to this Walid one that I'm going to just respond to him. Thanks. I was thinking it might be. Take care. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to leave it at that because I'm tired, frankly. It's going to take me a bit to edit this video. And as you saw, this was recorded on Friday, and tomorrow is going to be released on Saturday for early people because I still need to spend time to edit this video. And Sunday is going to be visible for everybody else. So thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a like, and I'll see you next time. Take care, and you have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.